Okay, so we've looked at all these things. What is the future? What is the future? What is the future? More convergence, probably, right? For one thing. So we talked about chapter 13, work on your term paper. So we first defined what the internet is, that it's a mechanism to transfer information from one computer to another, basically, right? And we talked about the screens we consume the internet on. Laptop screens, mostly these days phone screens, very small screens. We looked at the biggest websites, the Googles, the Facebook, the YouTube. We talked about international internet usage. China has the most internet users. India is Facebook's biggest country in terms of number of users. We talked about convergent content, meaning content that originated in other mass media, books, newspapers, magazines, radio, TV, movies, how it's now more and more being carried on the internet and being shown on laptops and phones, and that this has changed some of the capabilities of the content in terms of adding video and audio, searching, etc. It's also being looked at on really small screens for a large part, right? Because so much is moving to mobile. For unique content on the internet, there is a lot of it. The search, the social media, two of the biggest examples. But I decided rather than show you all that content, you see enough of it. I think you know what it is, you're aware of it. We just focused right in a narrow area of search and searching on phones. And one thing we said was that it looks like Google has a lock on being the default search engine for almost every phone in the world, which is pretty remarkable. We talked about issues, from content, disinformation. We talked about the First Amendment. The First Amendment doesn't allow dangerous content that poses a danger. We looked at some dangerous content, didn't we? And we read an article about it anyway in the New York Times. And we talked about privacy, that we have, when we click, we create data, and Facebook sells that data in a way by letting advertisers target us based on Facebook data. So we covered a lot of territory here today in terms of issues with the internet, and then we talked a bit about the future. But it boils down to this concept of the whole world in our hands, particularly when it's a phone, it's in one hand. And it is a remarkable invention, remarkable accomplishment, right up there with the use of electricity, and the invention of language, which we talked about in our first class. So the overall agenda is a lecture. What's due by next class? We finished, and now we finished talking about the internet.